Workshop to order. Would you call the roll, please?
Council President Suzanne Souter.
Present.
Councilperson Joseph Day.
Here.
Councilperson Nerman Zubaka.
I'm here.
Councilperson Andrew Zelt.
Here.
Councilperson Brian Madaway.
Here.
Also present, Mayor Valerie Leary, City Administrator Antonina Tantillo, City Treasurer James Wisman, and City Clerk's Finance Coordinator Courtney Taylor.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. I'll begin by asking Ms. Tantillo and or Ms. Taylor to bring us up to date since the last meeting.
Sure. So we have just made a few changes based on our conversation at the last meeting. You'll see the items under public safety are still highlighted for future discussion.
What page?
The first page.
Oh,
Then page 4, public service salaries were adjusted based on council executive session discussions related to salaries. Equipment for parks. We did increase that to 10,000 based on requests at the last meeting regarding a possible multi-generation park improvement. So Chad, Checker.
And this was 3 before?
To be 8 or 9. And it's equipment parks.
Page eight.
Yeah, okay. You increased it by 10?
Yes.
Okay.
18 or 19, police liability and insurance and property and liability insurance. We slightly decreased because we did receive numbers from our insurance company, and that allowed us to decrease. Police liability was previously budgeted at 11,000, and I think property was at 155. Yeah. That was it. Yeah.
Can you
those were-
repeat the number, sorry, again?
Yes.
Was the previous
Police
number?
liability was previously 11, it's now 9, and property and liability was previously 155, and it's now 151. And those were the only changes that were made. In addition to the changes made to the actual budget, we received 2 detailed items for contribution requests. So one is from the senior center, because we had a question at the last meeting about what exactly the fund would be used for. And they advised that the senior center offers daily exercise classes, and the money from the city contribution would go towards cost to provide the classes. They have Monday chair yoga, Tuesday strength building, Wednesday agility and balance coordination, Thursday Zumba Gold, and Friday chair exercise. And then we received, sorry. And then we received a 2-page in-depth memo about the project alert for the Community Collaboration of Delaware. I'll just go over the program detail. So the curriculum is Project Alert, which stands for Adolescents Learning Experiences in Resistance Training. The target audience is 15 to 27th grade students living within the city of Newcastle. The location is the Newcastle Public Library. The schedule is once a week from September to November 2024. The partners include the Newcastle Public Library and the Newcastle City Police Department, and they will provide light refreshments to the students attending that. There's further details I can go into. I could read everything, just let me know what you.
Question.
Mhm.
So why just 7th graders? Because if they don't have enough people, I mean, could they increase that to 6th to 8th grader or anything?
My guess is, I'm trying to look it up now, this projectalert.com, it's probably a national program that targets 7th graders, but I was trying to look it up, I'm not getting good service, but that's what my guess is, Andrew, they probably target right on that age for this type of program.
I mean, I just look at everything. I think anyone from those ages would actually benefit. So I'm just concerned is if they don't get to 15 to 20 to fill it up, are they able to expand that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me see. There's their website. Councilman Madaway, did you have any further details about that?
No.
Okay.
Seems like a really cool program. You probably look it up as well. Project Alert.
It says Project Alert is a classroom program that teaches seventh and eighth graders how to restrict drugs and alcohol.
So it does include eighth graders.
That's what their website says.
Okay, maybe we get that increase to eighth grade, so
Okay.
we can at least get hopefully more participation.
Yeah, because if they don't.
So I'd
get
make
enough-
it contingent on like, as a, that or, yes,
So we're saying that if they don't get their 20 students, their maximum of 20 from seventh grade, they would then open it to eighth grade. Is seventh grade still preferred, or you are saying you would just like it open to seventh and eighth? and
I think they
see-
should just open up since it's on their website for seventh and eighth, just open it up for seventh and eighth.
That seems fair.
Yeah. So I would, if we don't have any further question about the budget, or we can go line by line, again, it's up to you.
I have several questions. I'm just trying to finish the revenue side. And if somebody else has something to say before.
Well, I have a question, perhaps Mr. Mataway or someone else knows this. How do they, for getting back to community collaboration, how do they recruit students? Is it through the school or?
Well, it said here that they worked with the police department and the library, and that's was how they were identifying kids. But I could be wrong. on
So they're
that.
identifying
I
kids
just
who
assumed.
potentially already had a problem that the police will be aware of. The library's not gonna be aware of that. I assume the space, the library is cooperating by providing the space. But I would seem
It'll
to
look
me
at their-
that school counselors or, you know, if a kid got to the, you know, was having some issues, but hadn't yet gotten in trouble with the law, this would be an ideal time to catch them, hopefully, before they got, the police became aware of them. And how would we reach those students?
Right.
Or how would they reach those students for this program?
I know that, the original request said, it would, you know, work in local middle schools, so I'm wondering if they do partner with the schools.
Yeah, I was looking
to
back to
identify,
that, to
yeah.
this initial packet where they were referencing Colonial School District Cary Downey as an example. And, I think on one of their other, they mentioned St. Peter's and some of the other
Yeah,
schools
so it-
specifically.
The charter.
Yeah, so
school
they
and-
actually, I can't, Anthony, do you recall that?
Yeah, they did. They mentioned all of this.
Melina, I see 99,000 budget presented to us, but I think so there's up 195 was not added to this amount, I'm guessing.
No, it wasn't.
Based on last.
So that's plus 195.
Correct.
that
I
was
believe
for-
that's.
That was for the wreaths for the churches
Lot more.
outside the downtown area, right?
I think we were just gonna go with 200.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. I mean,
But, yeah,
One more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is-
yeah, make it 2,200.
But what I was gonna say, after we go through the rest of the budget, I do want to, or we can do it now, whatever order you prefer, I do wanna go through all of the contributions and confirm the amounts so that we can finalize that.
I have some questions about revenue side,
Okay.
but I'm okay skipping, coming back to whatever the rest of the group would prefer. I'm okay either way, I guess. Any thoughts?
Well, do we want to review the contribution requests first? That's a little simpler.
That's fine.
So our staff, the 2,000 they requested, and based on Mr. Zabaka's request, they're adding 200 to provide wreaths to Buttonwood School and churches outside the downtown. Goodwill, I don't think that request has changed, has it? And the library, the partnership. Now, I was a little confused by this because it says included in the 8,000 in parks budget, because that was to be for the benches, I believe,
And shade, yeah.
and shade.
We
So,
included 3,000.
We end up changing.
It was 8 initially, but it was cut in the process of as we were cutting across the city budget, there was a new sheet that was issued to us, lowering that to 3,000.
Oh, so that's the balance. So the 2,000 is in addition to the amount that's included in the parks budget.
Yes, and that would be for, the pamphlets that they.
Right, right.
Distribute.
So the
Some
part
of
that's
them, they're
included in the parks budget wouldn't go through the partnership. It would simply be used to purchase the benches. And
Yes, and that's what I, said at the beginning, because, you know,
Just
wouldn't make
easier.
sense, yeah, for us to
Right.
head it through to another organization when,
We've already
Charge it up.
talked.
yeah. It'd be silly.
Well, yeah, because I know some of the grants that the playground group is applying for require matching funds, so this would provide some of
Some of
those
the match.
matching funds. Okay,
Just 3,000.
The library was 5K. I don't have the
Okay,
list.
Libraries then.
10.
Oh,
And then the historical society's 15, senior center's 5, and we've discussed what theirs is for the exercise classes. And Encore, that's the playground or outdoor recreation group. And then this community collaboration of Delaware that we've been discussing. So are there any questions or comments about the other groups?
and Encore was 5 as well.
Correct.
Yes.
Thanks. I'm sorry, I don't have the list.
That's all right. Everything today? I think it's just listed.
So at this point, we're leaving this as is with the $200 addition to our staff, is that right?
Yeah, unless you have any
Or
requested
any other
change.
Okay, I don't hear any, so I guess we'll move on. Mr. Zabaki, you said you had some questions on the revenue side.
Yeah, I just wanted to come back to some of these things that we have changed and just to, well, first I want to talk about the. I know the background story about this revenue part that was a mistake on a county behalf, but could you guys talk about that, the pension line on line page 36?
So, we get reimbursed for the state, we have agreement with the state where they pay a certain, reimburse us back for a percentage of the police pension. And we received Newcastle County's reimbursement and the county received our reimbursement.
Oh.
We don't get that.
I know, right?
So,
I have been talking to Pamela at the state office, so tomorrow we are giving them their money back. The check will be cut and she is hand picking it up.
Was their amount 1,589,000?
Yeah, it was like 1.4.
Yeah.
So, they have a hard cutoff, their system shuts down next Wednesday. So it's kind of time crunch to get us our ACH, which I think she said it would be around 60,000, which is normal.
Yeah.
She can't get you a check? Check for check?
Because they had, so they use a special fund. And basically the special fund now is empty because they dispersed to everyone. So by us giving them the check back, it will replenish the money, but they have to wait for the check to clear
Right,
and then they can ACH.
So hopefully we'll get it by June 30th. If
Yeah.
not, we'll just reverse it back. Should it be in time? Oh, great.
Because it's a ACH, so it will just show up in a new year, but we are getting the money, I
We
just
are
don't
getting
know
the
which
money,
year it'll
yeah.
come from, yeah.
I don't want to do the math right now, but the total of 7.349 in our revenue right now. That has to be deducted by about 1.4, maybe 1.35, right? Given the payment that we're receiving.
It was 1.4 and some change.
That was the first thing I wanted to just talk about because it's still in there showing, so I just didn't want to ignore it. All right, sorry, it's a little. If anybody knows where the revenue starts, okay, got it. Page 33. I'm looking at the proposed 2025 property tax amount 3.1, and I'm a little afraid to move it to that amount. I'm almost want to propose to council to lower that by 50,000. I know we're probably gonna hit that number, but we haven't hit that in the last 5 years. So I wonder if this was done in time when we were trying to increase revenue to offset some of these things, but just looking for your opinion about it, I guess. It's always great when it goes over, but I don't want us to be in a situation where it goes under, right? It should probably hit that number next year, given a reassessment that's happening, but I don't think there's certainty.
The
in how that's gonna
reassessment's
play
not,
out, right?
the
So-
reassessment's not gonna kick in till 26,
Well,
right?
then, yeah, then
If
even.
it's not completed until January of 25,
Mhm.
that means it would kick in for fiscal
Correct.
26.
So then, yeah, I would make a recommendation, 3.350 or maybe 3,075,000 would make me feel more comfortable, because we have hit that in the last 4 years,
Yeah,
but,
that would be.
so I don't know what you guys think.
So our actual right now is 3,097,000, right?
And 3,080,000 the year before, 375, 378, and
So, but you're only talking about $3,000, right?
potentially, or 30, if it goes back 3,075,000, right, or something like that, so. This is, so just to inform the council of my thinking of this was, after we had audit presented to us last week, I started thinking down about these revenue streams that we have, that this being the most stable one, right? Should we reduce them to rather, have a better picture and then have a surprise mid-year, okay, like we're.
If it comes
projected
in
to hit.
higher,
I think the only thing that I would say is, like we pointed out last meeting now, there's 7 single family or 10, maybe it was 11 single family dwellings being built just this month. So when you start looking at adding, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Riverbend still has quite a few more lots in it, so it would be hard for me to believe that we would go backwards. I'm not against, because I don't think it really does a whole lot to make it.
I'm okay with that logic, I forgot that we talked about that.
Yeah, the more we build, the more to build, the more obviously property tax, but it does seem like we've had a steady stream of permits,
Mhm.
at least down there, and some in the city. There's one on Orbitus, and we have a couple
Mhm.
On Third Street, so I wouldn't think it would go back, but I'm not opposed to saying,
Is your logic then saying, about property tax transfer, even more, like one that can go on and off different year, but because of the factors you mentioned,
yeah.
is
I
your
mean-
thinking the same?
I
you know,
mean,
like,
and we're projecting, this year so far, we've gotten 653,182 in property tax transfers, and we're only projecting 400. So that's $250,000 cushion, which would more than cover the $3,000 to $30,000 gap potential gap in the way we're projecting the tax revenues.
Yeah, but this is the line that hasn't continuously increased, like property taxes almost increased every year, or it remains steady, or property tax transfer has gone 400 to 980,
It's all over the
620,
It's all-
440.
yeah, 'cause you
So
never
it could
know.
revert back to 440 or, less, depending on the market, right? So that's the one I'm worried about the most.
The other
What
thing
if it
that,
goes, under, like.
I think the other thing that I keep in mind is, and this is just my opinion, I don't think the Fed's gonna boost rates again.
Mhm.
If anything, they drop the rates, which will probably
Will help the buyer.
help the buyers market again, but that's just,
Yeah, it's just the one that it's tricky,
But if
because
we-
we're increasing by 150 from 250 to 400. I know why we did it. I mean, I'm probably
Yeah.
the one who suggested it initially, but.
But even if we drop this one, 25,000, it's not gonna make much difference in the end.
and I think when you look at it, we hit 400,000 in 2020. I think we moved it to 400 because it's probably more realistic.
Yeah,
Right.
200 to
But,
250.
and yeah, 400's the lowest in the last 5 years.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, 21, I think that was the year the Garrison sold, so we got a big chunk, which obviously doesn't happen every year. Right. But still, the rest of the years are still significantly above 400.
And we don't know what the status of the project out at River Edge is, but that could be a significant amount of real estate transfer tax if the construction and starts this year.
Those are my only concerns I had, just those two items, given their, volatility for the tax transfers. But yeah, I'm okay with it remaining as is. Thanks for indulging me in this.
I had one question in respect to, maybe updated revenue figures. Since our last city council meeting last week, do we receive any, like, new money in regards to our quote unquote, excess or overage,
The only two
or
things.
the carry forward, the carry forward figure. You know, like the any property sell, if there was any transfer
We haven't
taxes,
received the, transfer tax list yet.
okay.
Franchise fees and MSC is still not there. It's
MSD, I checked that today. We haven't received. If I don't receive it by the end of the week, I will be sending an email. But as far as like, if we receive a check, I can backdate a check. I just can't backdate an ACH.
Mhm.
I can't change the date to hit the bank.
Yeah, the franchise, between franchise fees and MSC appropriation, we're looking at 170,000, I think, potential increase in revenue this fiscal year, depending when it comes, or, you know.
Hopefully
next
by
year,
next
depending on
week,
payment.
since it's, the last week, we'll hopefully have a better.
Yeah,
So if it's a check for fiscal 24, even if you don't physically receive it until fiscal 25, you can backdate it. When
I
you
can
say
put it
that,
in our
you can
system.
post it as a
Yeah.
fiscal 24 revenue.
But ACH, I
You
can't
can't.
because of audit reason. That's the day it actually hit our account.
Right.
So I can't change the date of that.
So then it just shows us ahead of the game, starting day one of
And
twenty
then
twenty-five.
some of the items for this year or last year, like.
I mean, that happens every year, so it
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
balances out in the end, right?
Because it's our end of the fiscal year, but majority of places don't operate the same. Their fiscal year is December, so they're
Right.
not in a rush to give us a check.
Right. Unless it's in state, because they're on the same fiscal year.
Stay with, like, that's why the state of Delaware is trying to hurry up, but other places,
Businesses
we get
don't.
December, they're hurrying up.
They're
with it.
using the
Yeah.
calendar
Yeah.
year, yeah, they have a calendar year fiscal year.
So the deficit, is it the same as it was the last time it was announced? The one that, I think it was at the meeting,
498.
something like that. Has that changed any? Not much.
It will look like a change because of that mistaken check,
All right.
from the county.
but not if you clear that out, correct?
It's gonna be cleared out tomorrow.
I'm saying not if we take that out right now, because
Yeah.
we know that's a,
Mhm.
you know, error.
But it would have been changed because of the additions that we made, the salary numbers and the,
So it would have gone
So
up.
they're still anticipating, like, this is not final number because of negotiations, FOP, and then potentially revenue increase. If increase anticipated revenue from MSC and franchise fees. Not to exceed probably 100, something like that, depending on when it gets sent us. So those are the three things. What was that?
Just a reminder, and it's one of those FYIs to put on the back burner. I think next year, and maybe what you've made some arrangements to do here kind of has preempted that, but next year will be the AFSCME contract.
Right,
yes, exactly.
yeah,
So,
So am I correct in saying that current expenses are 5.828 million? Trying to track this.
If you want.
21, is that the,
That's for our current, you said 5.8.
5.828
That's in current year budget for these things as of today.
expenses, right?
Yes.
So then the,
oh, right. That's
I
our year.
always say that because we were operating at 5,704, our budgeted amount. So would that then increase the 498 gap to another 100,000 at least? Is that correct
Well,
assumption? If the revenue is not covering that difference, I guess is.
it was discussed in the executive session why it's more.
Mhm.
So yes, we will be.
So is 498 then including that, or is 498 needs to be updated with that
498, where you get.
498 then from the
Um,
last meeting?
that
I'm
was
just
all
adding to
about-
what Mayor O'Leary was asking.
Oh, the 498 came off of the current, well, the 25.
So it doesn't include
budget.
this increase that we're seeing here in expenses. Am I,
So what
You
is,
should look at budgeted on the right-hand side where it says budgeted, and it says 6,079,681. That's for this year.
so
which
that's,
is lower than the last meeting number, which was 6157, so then the gap is smaller.
No, so you also have to add that 99 in for the contribution.
Mhm.
Oh, I see, okay. So where's that
So
new
it's
total here then?
6,178,881.
I see. So those two lines are separate.
Because we didn't accept them yet, but now that we've had that discussion, we will accept them and it'll show.
Thank you for clarification, so it's 6157 projected,
Six,
give with contributions, so we're back at that 498, I think, Mayor Larry, that is.
6,178,800.
Thank you for asking. If nobody, can I ask Councilman something else, or we move to something?
well, no one else has spoken up, so go for it.
I mentioned, well, I'm gonna go back to playground, conversation in light of the newest development that Encore has informed the council this past week. Encore has received a grant of $75,000 from the Welfare Foundation, contingent upon fundraising all the funds for phase 2 for the playground, and I wanted to bring back to the council proposal to fund that same amount, 75,000, put aside in our equipment for phase 2 to show support for the fundraising efforts. I think it would go a long way to fundraising more funds to show that cities also supporting this effort in the budget.
Are you looking for that money to be coming from the ARPA?
I think it's the same at this point, it's my understanding, is that correct? Antonia?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think we can pull it ARPA, sure, is a request, but I think it's general fund at this point.
But are you saying that it's basically a show of support? And if they are successful in their fundraising, the city might not have to spend the whole 75. Is that what you're saying?
Sure, I mean, it's always the case, right? Like if we get more in grants, then we don't spend any of it, but I want us to show that formal support that they can write in future submissions to say we have,
Matching.
matching funds from city, we already won another grant. I think it will look better on applications to fundraise rest of it.
Do some grants require specifically the matching funds come from a particular source, such as the city, or all they care is that we can come up with the rest of the money?
I can't speak to the source. I know that there's some require matching funds. I don't know. Did
Okay.
they specify city?
Okay, I just was curious.
Yeah, I can inquire about it, but I'm not sure it's specific probably to those grants.
Well, yeah, each one has their own
Yeah.
rules, I understand that. But the one specifically.
So well, this
that-
one is
the
in a
70
sense matching. You gotta
Yeah.
match the rest of it, not match, you gotta fundraise rest of it for you to get 75 from.
But,
the
but
welfare.
where we fundraise doesn't matter so much. They don't care if it comes from the city or from Longwood Foundation
Yeah, I don't
or
think it- yeah, the
other,
welfare.
other
least the letter of it.
organizations.
It just said continue to fund,
Okay,
fundraising rest of the
okay.
funds.
Do you have an idea, Norm, because you're on that committee, do you have an idea about when they'll hear about the rest of the grants? requests?
The big chunk, well, I think the entire amount for the surfacing currently quoted for ADA compliance is under bond bill request. So that would be, hopefully, we will know by that soon, by next week, I'm assuming, June 30th. The other part is ORPT grant that I think you mentioned in the fall, we
Yeah,
pre-applied.
so
and in
the
the fall is
pre-application was submitted a few weeks ago, and then probably around September or October, we'll be invited to formally apply.
Yeah, so that's,
If they so choose, and then we would not hear of that award likely until December.
and just yesterday, the playground subcommittee, the chair, Suzanne Swift, shared that there's 3 or 4 potential grants for the fall.
Right, so there's
That they will
ones I
apply
know
for.
that she's already applied for. What, those I'm asking for the dates on those.
The ones that she
Longwood,
applied already, or the ones?
yeah,
she's
the ones
planning on
she's
applying?
applied for already, because she probably applied for Longwood.
I don't know the answer. to
Okay,
that question.
so I know she's applied for several.
Well, that forestry,
The ARP for sure, but that was
that's
not,
the one that just went in on Friday,
Awarded.
right?
Yes.
Forestry, something,
and that's the one that requires matching, I believe.
well, that we
But it's
don't,
a 3,000 grand, something like that, I believe. 5,000.
And I think what you're saying is, we're gonna put this money and we're gonna earmark it to be matching funds
Towards the phase
for
three, yeah.
any grants that they get.
right.
Is that right?
Correct, it can be used for phase two fundraising efforts, yeah. Yeah, I think that's,
Welfare Foundation was 75,000.
yes, correct.
That was awarded.
Mhm.
Right.
But that requires matching, but matching from any source as far as. we know.
Yeah, there's nothing indication in
Doesn't
the
have to be
acceptance
the
letter.
city specific.
Mhm.
Right. It was just the other grants I know, not the bond bill.
I
not
don't
the
think the
other one.
Longwood was submitted. I think something else was submitted. I can't remember the name right now.
Well, the one that
ARP.
went in on,
ARP was, but there wasn't awarded, but yesterday was mentioned that they're going in a talk, they want to talk with Encore
Yeah.
about the next submission in the fall.
The forestry grant.
Oh, no, Longwood,
five-
Longwood,
5,000 was requested
Mhm.
through forestry.
I think it makes sense that the city is a vested investor into this project from the eyes of potential grantors of funds, whether they may be outside organizations or quasi-state organizations as well. I think it just only amplifies the presentation of this is something that is supported at all levels.
I can reach out earlier, to get the other, there's no more than one more grant, but I can't.
I can
think of it
ask
right now.
her.
have it
I
here.
talked to her
Okay.
today. I
Um,
can ask her.
Did you, one thing that was raised last night, did you, were you talking to the refinery about potential
She
funding?
told me about that today
Okay.
and I'm gonna reach out to them hopefully tomorrow, and if not
Okay.
tomorrow, then Thursday, because I work tomorrow, so.
Okay.
Okay, I have the grant information. I
Okay.
applied for AARP for 50,000. I don't have too many dates
Thank
here,
you.
but Laffey McHugh, they're applying for 25,000. Welfare, they applied for 100,000, but they got the 75. Centene, application is due spring 2024 for a request of 500,000. REI Cooperative, application again due spring 2024 for a request of 15,000. ORPT will be requesting 125 when we can apply. Longwood application is due in the fall,
Okay.
and they're requesting
Okay.
500,000 in the bond.
Okay. So some of those last ones you mentioned, not including Longwood, because that's in the fall, those have already been applied for in spring of 2024. Okay,
My understanding, but
we don't know what the decision dates are.
No idea. Only ARP we heard from, I think. Yeah, and Walker, yes, correct. Thank you for pulling that up.
okay.
Off of my to-do list.
Does anyone else have any comments for tonight? We haven't taken public comments yet. Shall we do that at this point? Does anyone from the public have anything they'd like to say? Okay, the usual rules, is there a sign-in sheet?
Should bring it over, have it over there.
Sign in.
Is there one over there, Andrew?
It's not.
She's got something right here.
There you go.
You get me.
Thank you.
Okay. And after you sign in, state your name and then we use it in 3 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just have a few questions. Sally Getton from the council. I understand, is there 90,000 allows for the playground?
No, the 90,000 currently in the budget, you mean?
Yeah.
That's not playground, but can you guys break that down to what it is? I think that's dog park.
I thought that was 85.
Sorry.
No,
I'm gonna let them break that
I believe
down.
that's the
Oh, but the band show.
band show, yeah.
The band show is the biggest chunk, but can you guys break that 90,000 equipment, please?
The original budget is 2,000. Kazancho. Yeah, 75,000 was for the mobile stage, 3,000 was for the park benches, 10,000 for the outdoor gaming.
Chess,
Yes.
And how much is for the playground itself?
only the
None,
2,000.
just 3,000 for park benches.
So nothing else to do
That's
with
it, yeah.
the equipment or, okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the dog park, I have a question about the dog park.
I think it's 85,000 in a separate line.
Okay, and where is the dog park going to be located?
At the Hermitage,
Okay, I guess I have a dog. Part of the reason why I have a dog is to walk the dog. And I would not take my dog in the current situation to a dog park because there's a very serious virus out there for dogs.
Sorry, at a Hermitage location or in general?
It's just in
general.
Okay, sorry.
It's
Just
all
wanted to
over
make
the
sure that.
internet. Yeah, it's all over the internet. So, I mean, should I say I'm not in favor of the dog park? I'm not in favor of it. I think it's something that could be taken out of the budget. I would not take my dog to the dog park. And, I mean, I think it's a great idea in the future, but not now. I think the city is getting hit with not the city, people are getting hit with a lot of other taxes. So I think that's something that we could either cut down or,
so right now the dog park was actually part of the ARPA funds.
I'm sorry.
The dog park was part of the ARPA funds and was really not coming from tax income or anything like that. So, that was just special ARPA funds that we received. That's the allocation for that.
And the biggest jump for
Okay.
it was reallocated from the parking lot on, sorry, yeah.
Okay, I still have a problem with it because of the dog virus. You know,
Well,
no,
we are a long way off. We're still looking even just to get a design, so,
Okay.
it would not be happening for a while.
okay,
The virus and things that are going out there right now is something new. And, we'll definitely take that into consideration.
yeah,
I would
it
assume.
is new and and the only other thing with the parks. I know you've done an awful lot of great work on the Battery Park. But are you?
Yes, this playground subcommittee has been tasked last year to look into satellite parks and find partners in community.
I have another question, another thing. We have a gavel rather than the music.
Well, but the music is tied to the timer.
I understand that. Well, when I first came, I thought back to the meetings, I thought, what is that noise?
Maybe there are other options for sound. or-
I'll have to take a
Yeah,
look.
so, I mean, this is a business meeting. It's not a,
Well, it was
Anyway,
meant to
that-
attract attention, but
Yeah.
all right, thank you for your observation. about
You're
that.
welcome.
Anyone else?
Bill Gross, 1301 13th Street. I happen to like the music, so it's one of the least battles that I would ever take a fight at. I think when it comes to matching funds in the playground, my honest opinion is, like Brian said, it's good to have it on paper that the city would cover shortfalls in fundraising. But it is not to be assumed that the city will pay the 75,000, the 80,000, the 3,000. That's only as a fallback and on paper. But that committee should not feel complacent that they'll go out and get matching funds. It's important. I've always backed it. So I think it's an important thing to do because as our residents change from elderly to families, you gotta give them something to attract them, so they're not doing dumb stuff, whatever it would be. I would just put an addendum and word it that way, that it's not assumed that that money will come out of our budget. But, you know, just a thought. As far as the breakdown, what amount would be going to the partnership again, because it seems like it now is bundled
2,000 right now.
2,000. And again, that is earmarked for,
Brochures.
alright, So once again, when the public was allowed to attend the meetings, which I was for a few years, it was billed as a self-supporting publication. The advertisers would cover the full cost of it.
They do the directory, but this is a different thing. This is promotional brochures.
And I've never seen them. And I've
Well, they
been,
haven't been printed yet.
well, I think that the money should go to the Historical Society and let them do it. I don't think any money from the city should go to any group that is close to the residents and the community members. I mean, that just makes sense. Where's my money going? Oh, you're saying a brochure. I don't know. We aren't entitled to see any of the budget. So I would say strike it. Send it to the Historical Society earmarked for them to do, or whatever, the city wants to do, but I don't believe it should go to them. I guess I'll have to look through the budget because I didn't realize it was on the site, so. Where can I send questions or emails on questions?
I don't see why not.
Sure.
To any of us.
All right, well, I'll just CC it to everybody so nobody feels let down that they didn't receive an email from them. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I just ask one simple question? When will you be voting on the budget?
By the end of the month, we have to.
So when will you be posting that?
We have another budget meeting scheduled for next Wednesday.
Oh,
So
you
it'll be
do?
Posted
Okay.
tomorrow and 7 days in advance as usual.
Right, okay.
Or potentially Thursday, if I'm correct, we're gonna set.
Yeah, we're gonna schedule another.
We're gonna
meeting for Thursday.
schedule two, depending on how it goes. We may not need the second one, but we'll see.
And each time you update or change, will you repost it? Thank you.
Yep, the draft budget will be on the website.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I do have one other, I'm sorry. But the way that the meetings are being posted for your executive session, they are not being held at the town hall. They're being held at the city administrative building. The address is correct, but town hall is where the meetings used to be held and where.
The old town hall.
Right, so it's confusing to
Yeah,
some,
it's-
not to me, but to some people.
Okay. Well, maybe we can correct that for the next time.
Sure.
Thank you.
Not that we didn't get an invite.
Can I just ask one thing that, if I understood you correctly, that you said that you have to vote on adopting a budget by the end of the month of June?
Yes,
So then, in the next council meeting. Regular council meeting.
it will have already been done by then, yes. It'll be at a special
And
meeting.
that will happen here at a date to be announced.
Well, at this point.
Actually, Wednesday.
Wednesday or Thursday of next week. We have meetings scheduled at this point for both of those days. They'll be posted, one tomorrow and one on Thursday for 7 days. And if we pass it on Wednesday, then we'll cancel the Thursday one. But we need to be prepared. That's why we're announcing both of them.
I did want to announce, just to talk about the band show a little bit, you brought it up.
Sure.
So I did get some pricing back and what we originally looking at was way higher than we expected. So I have one more, vendor that has to supply me pricing, and I think his pricing will be a little bit more in line, but I just want to tell council, so we originally, were thinking that it would be $70,000 to $80,000 tops. The price that I got back from Stage Line for the SL 100 was $140,000 without the options. And the recommended options, like the steps and the rails and all that kind of stuff,
It's kind
it
of
was like
neat.
another 30,000. So that's obviously not feasible, but there's another company in upstate New York that I'm working with to try and get their pricing now. So hopefully it'll be a little bit more aligned. So just so everybody knows.
You say you got two back, or is this the best one out of the two?
So no, I got one back.
Okay, wait for the other.
Most of the other stage companies were either very sophisticated, like concert kind of stages,
Much more than we need.
or some of them were like more like like almost campers that had, or a trailer that had a side that came up. It was,
They're
You know
either
what I
too
mean?
much or too little,
yeah,
right?
exactly. So these companies were really, I
The
thought,
Goldilocks
more in
zone.
line with what we were looking. We looked at 7 companies altogether. So we're down to like the 2, and that was with recommendations from Paul Freeberry, with recommendations from Public Works. And a couple other people, I don't remember offhand, like gave us some input. So even when we finalize, or, you know, I mean, I don't wanna say finalize, even if we decided to look at this last company, we're gonna try and find one here and look at it, maybe get a little bit more input before we move forward. But it wasn't just as easy as, you know, going out and saying, hey, that's exactly what we want. There's a lot of sophisticated stages out there.
Right.
I was
I
surprised.
know when I was involved in looking, the first ones were way over the top.
Yeah.
More than we needed.
Yeah.
If we choose to order one, do you have some sense of what the lead time is till we would receive it?
So the company in New York is like 4 to 6 months. So unless you bought something that they already have available there, which I'm, you know, I mean, figuring out what the available
On the
stock
lot,
is.
right?
Yeah.
So to speak.
The discount.
So the cheapest one so far is 140 some.
Or 170 with the steps, just kind of like
Yeah,
range,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
depending on the option.
That was Stage Line is the company that, and again, it's a very nice, well-built, sophisticated stage, but they are expensive.
It's 4 to 6 months delivery for stage line or the other one that you're talking
No,
about?
for the other one.
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
Um,
But again, we don't know, if they may have something there. He didn't really want to commit the whole lot.
I'm only asking because timing, right, like it doesn't matter because if we
Absolutely.
can get one available, you know, for this summer, then it makes sense to,
Yeah.
you know, debate this further, but if, no matter what, we're looking 4 months minimum.
You're gonna still be using the one we have.
That's what I'm
for-
saying, right?
For probably almost, I would guess, 8 months to a year at minimum, maybe.
Does it need some repairs to that end? Like, do we need to look into repairing this one currently? Is it, in
I
what
don't
state
know.
it is, you know,
I don't
because we
know
have
that.
delayed this for a year now, right? Like,
Yep.
Well, it's
I
taken
think
much
it's in
longer.
good working condition
Good
for the
working
time
condition.
being.
It's taken much longer to get the information and locate the appropriate
Yeah.
kinds of stages. Than we thought it was going to when we first started out on this.
And we're certainly no
last winter.
stage experts, but the
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
we did have some people give us some input
Okay.
and that was.
Yeah,
was
for both
helpful.
performers
Yeah.
and Mr. Freeberry
Yep,
and the
that's
public
great.
works people who are gonna have to
Yep.
move it around to
Mhm.
make sure it works for them.
Well, thanks for looking into that, Joe.
Councilman,
Appreciate it.
Day, I just have one question on that. In respect to the quotes that you did get, did they indicate, did you get far enough along to know, is it cash on delivery? Would it be like a deposit up front? And you have anything?
Stage Line has some available.
Okay,
Yeah, they're a much bigger company. You could tell that they turn out a lot of them and they have different models. I mean, so the model that we looked at, it's not the smallest one, it was like the number 2. But the smallest one is really like probably less than we have now, like in size and everything. So the SL 100 was the model that everybody thought was the right size.
I think I looked at the Stage Line website and that smallest one seems more geared to vendors.
Yeah,
Like
that was an
going to
SL
Going to a
75.
craft fair kind of thing and the
Yeah.
table opened out so they could display their products and so forth. As opposed to being a performance
Yeah.
space.
Yeah, definitely have to consider.
So just if it does not come in with the budget that you had thought of before, will it be held up? Or it's gonna have to be decided on whether to hold the whole thing up?
In my opinion, if it came in and it was a little bit more money, we'd probably talk about it with this budget. But if it comes in and it's another 30 or 40,000, then we're probably gonna have to make a different decision. I mean, that's just my opinion, but
But it's coming out of the ARPA funds. It's not.
I was, okay, I couldn't remember.
whether what we allocated was coming out of our funds,
75,
yes.
right.
Yep. And everybody, I mean, we've gotten a lot of use out of our existing stage, but it is time.
And it was
Uh,
used when we got
yeah,
it, so
yeah,
we bought
so-
it from
They
the
have
city of
maintained it.
Wilmington, I think someone said.
Yeah.
Maintained it very well.
Yep,
Is there any resale value?
none.
Yeah.
But I would only say if another jurisdiction did not have one, and did not have the money for one, you know what I mean, you might get a very little bit for it, but there's.
Well, maybe a
not much
scenario that
value.
might cost us money to get rid of it, that if someone else wants it, they can.
Yeah.
Or scrap metal, I don't
Yeah.
know how.
Can I just ask one more thing? I don't wanna hold everybody up. Like, you want me to go up there and sign in or just sit here?
Well, you probably should, so you're on the record.
Okay, I just wanna make sure I get a couple things clear in my head here before I leave here tonight. Okay. Oh, you don't have to put the timer on. I'm not gonna be that long this time.
Come on, Rod.
Are you
You
always
sure?
say that. You always say that.
Put them in the bank for next time.
Say,
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I understood this, the ARPA money. Now, is this what we were calling COVID money
Yes.
before? Okay, so dog park and the, what you were just talking about are part of that, as well as the, whatever you call it now, was the, what's it, outreach coordinator position or whatever? it's
1
called?
year of that, yes.
Okay. So none of that is being supplied by taxpayers. That's all a separate.
Well, not city taxpayers. I mean, it was federal money, so
Well,
taxpayers.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, right, it's all tax money of some form or
Some
another.
variety.
Okay, and that money can only be used, does it have to be used by a certain time?
No.
No.
So is it permissible to ever use that to offset other costs, like to balance your budget, or do you have to use? It can, yes,
yes,
all of it, part of it?
all of it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we
Everything
still
all of it.
have, even with these allocations, we still have 1.2 roughly million of it left.
Antonina, can you explain that?
And the idea was one thing we've discussed about it was that this flood mitigation work that we've been accepted into a federal program that's gonna cover a vast majority of that cost. But the city will still have some costs for that. Legal fees, permit fees, if we have to purchase any land, which would obviously be a bigger chunk. So since there was no deadline on the ARPA money, we were trying to hold on to a chunk of it at least until we know what might be expected.
Okay, and you're not gonna know that by next Wednesday?
No,
or
no,
Thursday?
no. So,
Okay.
but there's no deadline on the ARPA money.
Right, but you could conceivably take a chance and use and say, well, we're guessing maybe would need this and this and this, but you could maybe use part of that to offset this year's budget.
Well,
if you wanted to.
we could, but we have other reserve money that we're
Well,
probably.
now I know about that, and I know you don't like to touch that, and I.
Well, no,
I
we-
understand.
We're probably gonna have to touch some of it.
Right, okay.
Because we don't know. The county tax assessment information is not gonna be available till next year.
Right,
And I have an inquiry out to the chief of staff of the county executive, asking some questions about how that works at the municipal level, because the county executive has said that the reassessment will be revenue neutral for the county. And they've opined that roughly a third of properties may be increased in value, roughly a third.
they
may
always
be
say that,
decreased,
I know. I've been
And
through
a
that
third
before,
about the
right.
same, and we don't know how Newcastle's gonna fall in
So
that.
potentially, if it works out, when they do that next year, you could actually change, the taxes for if you have to raise them this year, you can maybe lower them based on how all
Well,
that works out.
Or we may just wait until next year to make the decision about the raising.
I got you. Okay, so then really I think you were stating at the beginning, this roughly $500,000 shortfall is due primarily to radically increased health insurance costs
And
For
other
employees.
insurances,
and other insurances.
right,
Okay.
that's the biggest single thing, is that correct? Because I mean, sure, you've been reading as I have about the increase in liability insurance, property insurance.
Cyber,
Yeah, right.
everything.
All those, auto insurance, so all those things affect the city just like they do individually.
Okay, just want to clear it up. Thank you.
Sure.
Courtney, just, so I'm writing notes here for the equipment for parks, 90,000, 75 for band show.
Mhm.
10 for the equipment like chess and stuff,
Mhm.
3 for benches and shade, and what is the other 2 for? I forget.
General, like, park.
General
equipment
park
upkeep.
that was 2,000.
Park maintenance. Okay, thank you so much.
Mulch or whatever.
I do have a question. Where do we stand on the senior center projector? Do we expect to receive that bill, the last bill by this fiscal year?
That's tomorrow, right?
So they're doing electric tomorrow,
Okay,
and then next week they're doing First Alliance installing the equipment. So
okay.
the work will be done. I don't know if I'll have the bill next week.
No,
for
it's fine.
First
I have
Alliance.
90 days to put it back,
Okay,
so we'll
okay.
be good.
Yeah,
As
yeah,
long as the
yeah, yeah.
work's done this
Yeah.
fiscal year,
Yeah.
right?
Well, no,
Either way.
Yeah, I'm hoping that by July first it's in and done
okay,
anyway, so yep, that's
That
what we're
works.
shooting for.
I just wanna make sure I didn't have to put it back into.
Anything else from any? no?
I look forward to that because I tell you what, I wasn't able to attend and I had to listen online. Oh, it was terrible. It was, and it froze up and cutting in and out.
Well, I don't know this is gonna improve the online performance, but it should improve the volume so that you can at least hear people better.
Well, and we'll work with Versaline to see, they may have suggestions, you know what I mean, how they can integrate everything.
Oh,
and
into the
make it better.
Wi-Fi.
I'm not a tech guy, obviously, but hopefully they have some suggestions on what we can do to make it better.
Yeah, I wonder what the bandwidth for senior center currently is for internet, so that's really not. Within this project, it's not gonna be solved, the quality of audio will, but the lag or breaking up.
Yeah, the
always
bandwidth
still
they gotta
happen.
change.
Can we do a dry run dummy meeting to make sure it's all working?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I assume once they install it, there'll be some testing.
Well, I'm sure they're gonna wanna train people too, so I know the senior center didn't seem to have a lot of interest, but I'm sure they'll be there. But it might be nice for a few of us here, you know what I mean, also, just to know and be able to, you know.
Right, and perhaps somebody from Public Works, because they set up the room for the meetings.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Antonina, when is our next regular meeting, you know?
Regular meeting, July 9th. Yeah, regular meeting would be July 9th.
So is it possible to attend as a council member virtually?
Yes.
We were just at the beach that week.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Is voting restricted?
Did we change that? Because the
The
chart,
state did after,
so that overrides our charter, because our
um,
charter says that you can't do that.
I'll have to
But
double
so
check,
take
but
a
I.
look.
Probably have to
I haven't
update it.
really
Just ask Max
spoken
about
to Max
that.
about it
Yeah,
yet.
because that was something that when Mike Carranza was on council, not when he was mayor, that he was, that last charter change, it went in there that you had to, you know, be present to win. So if the state's determination outranks our
I think so.
charter, you know, that's,
It definitely does. I think all we're gonna do is kind of similar to what Max did with other thing recently, where we had to bring our code up to.
What he
date with-
told us is that we can't just hold the meeting virtually anymore. That was a special thing
Yeah,
under the
right.
emergency declaration for COVID. But as long as we have what they call an anchor point, where at least one member of council, and in this case, it'd be all but one, are present and the public can attend, then one person could come in on Zoom.
gotcha.
That was Max's opinion.
And I will tell you, that's how the county is doing a lot of their commission meetings and committee meetings. The Housing Advisory Board, there's a staff person and an anchor person who's actually on the board at the host site, which is the Gilliam Building, and then everybody else, other staff and board members are all remote.
And voting happens remote.
And voting
I'm only
happens.
we're gonna be back in August, we're gonna be in Bosnia, so I'm missing two potentially, but this is great news that I can attend virtually. I was contemplating coming in person from the beach, but I really don't wanna ruin my vacation. You know,
Right.
but virtually I can dedicate.
Okay,
Thank you.
is there anything else for tonight?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Easy to turn. I don't know. I imagine I could.
Thank you.
Yeah.